All right, everybody. Welcome to the Well Regulated Podcast. This is episode number 20. Supposed to have a good show for you guys tonight. We got some exciting news coming out of New Mexico. The Federal Appeals Court just banned the 7-day waiting period on gun purchases. So that's good news for everybody out here. They're also trying to appeal that decision, and there's a push for safe storage laws out here. We'll see how that goes. Also, we got some interesting rulings about machine guns and some more news out of that crazy jail and the not so good sheriff out of New Orleans. Plus, we got some national stuff we'll get into. That baseball Karen story, man, that was pretty interesting. It's pretty funny. Not in a ha-ha way, but in kind of a sad way. Anyway, guys, I hope everybody had a good Labor Day. I kind of took that weekend off. Wanted to do a pod, but you know, life gets in the way sometimes. That's just how it goes. Anyway, it's raining and thundering and lightning outside over here, so it's getting kind of crazy outside. So let's just get into it. If you hear that noise kind of in the background, that's what it is. All right. Let's get into the first story. This is from Source, New Mexico. Federal Appeals Court bars New Mexico's 7-day waiting period for gun purchases. The Federal 10th Circuit Court of Appeals on Tuesday paused New Mexico's 7-day waiting period for gun purchases enacted into law last year. Two New Mexico residents, Paul Ortega and Rebecca Scott, both of whom say they were forced to wait for their gun purchases despite quickly passing background checks, sued Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham and Attorney General Raul Torres over the law on the day it took effect, May 15th, 2024. Their suit, backed by the NRA and other pro-gun organizations, contends the law is unconstitutional under the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, as made applicable to the states by the 14th Amendment. A federal district judge in July of 2024, however, denied the plaintiff's request for a preliminary injunction against the law while the lawsuit proceeded. In its 2-1 split decision Tuesday, the appeals court reversed that decision, pausing the law, and sent the case back to the lower court. Quote, cooling off periods infringe on the Second Amendment by preventing the lawful acquisition of firearms, the decision reads. Cooling off periods do not fit into any historically grounded exceptions to the right to keep and bear arms, and the burden conduct within the Second Amendment scope. In the preliminary posture, we conclude that New Mexico's Waiting Period Act is likely an unconstitutional burden on the Second Amendment rights of its citizens. The governor's office says it is reviewing its legal option for responding to the ruling. Quote, today, the decision by the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals is deeply disappointing, painfully wrong, and likely to cost lives in New Mexico, Lujan Grisham said in a statement. New Mexico's waiting period law was carefully crafted to minimize gun violence while respecting Second Amendment rights. Yeah, it didn't. The dissenting opinion in today's ruling even notes that New Mexico's law is likely to save approximately 37 lives per year. Where are they even getting that stat from? They just made that up. Today's decision. Oh, yeah, I just read that part. The governor's statement continued to say that Tuesday's ruling ignored a prior 10th Circuit ruling that upheld Colorado's law barring gun purchases by anyone under the age of 21, or a law that requires 18-year-olds to wait 3 years to purchase a weapon. Judge Scott M. Matheson, dissenting opinion in Tuesday's decision, makes the same argument. The majority opinion acknowledges that precedent and also acknowledges that courts have only partially fleshed out the boundaries of these commercial connections. However, it continues, even in that murky territory, the Waiting Period Act falls far short of a presumptive constitutional law. Lujan Grisham's statement also contends that the ruling mischaracterized New Mexico's gun purchasing waiting period as applying to, quote, everyone, when it exempts people with concealed carry permits, law enforcement officers, and people who sell guns to immediate family members. The evidence is clear, the governor concludes. Waiting periods prevent impulsive acts of violence and suicide, giving people time to step back and reassess their emotions during moments of crisis. I'm disappointed that today's ruling doesn't take this into account. Sorry, rights don't care about your disappointment, you know. The NRA issued a statement commending the decision. In courtrooms across America, the NRA is successfully leading the change to protect law-abiding citizens' Second Amendment rights, said NRA Institute for Legislative Action Executive Director John Comerford said in a statement. The 10th Circuit has sided with the NRA and held the radical waiting period laws are indeed unconstitutional. This decision not only impacts gun owners in New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, Kansas, and Oklahoma, but serves as a key piece in dismantling similar gun control laws across the country. So there you go. Two-way win for my New Mexico and Southwest peeps, everybody in that 10th district. Although I don't think other states had to really deal with that 7-day waiting period. I know my cousin personally, he has to... his background checks always come back like inconclusive or whatever. So he, has to wait like 20 days or something. So I'm curious to know if his time will get cut down. You know what I mean? Now, it's not over because they are actively trying to get the decision overturned. So let me get that story queued up. Sorry, hold on one moment. Oh, sorry about that. All right, here we go. So this is same day the story came out, I think. New Mexico to ask appeals court to reconsider 7-day gun buyback waiting period or gun buy waiting period. New Mexico will ask a federal appeals court to reconsider its pause on the state's 7-day waiting period to purchase a firearm. A 3-judge panel in the 10th Circuit in Denver enjoyed New Mexico's 7-day waiting period, which became law. All right. New Mexico intends to file a petition asking for all 19 of the court's judges to decide the case. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's communication director, Michael Coleman, told Source New Mexico on Monday. Grisham's deputy counsel told the Interim Legislative Courts, Corrections, and Justice Committee on Monday morning about the state's intention to file a petition, but due to audio problems with the legislator's webcast, sources were unable to hear the presentation. They're working with the governor's office on the petition for rehearing. The waiting period law remains in effect. That's not true. These kinds of requests for an entire federal appeals court to reconsider a smaller panel's decision are generally reserved for exceptionally important cases in which decisions conflict with one another or when the circuit tries to keep its decision consistent. Coleman told Source that a panel split decision goes against a prior 10th circuit ruling that upheld Colorado's law barring gun purchases from anyone under 21. All right. So as of Tuesday morning, they have not filed anything. So it's just kind of talk and posturing at this point is what it seems like. You know what I mean? So we'll see how that goes. Major win. If you have, a young person getting stalked by some creep, and a 7-day waiting period does nobody any good except the perp. You know what I mean? But they don't care. They're just anti-gun. The whole Grisham administration is anti-gun. She tried to push all this anti-gun nonsense out under the guise of public health. I don't know what she thinks a public health emergency is, but apparently it is, a gun problem. I think, she put the National Guard out in the street in Albuquerque, but didn't equip them to actually do anything meaningful. At the same time, criticizes the president for doing this exact same thing. He took a different approach, and his approach is actually making an impact. It's just nuts. What do they say? It doesn't matter. Anyway. So we have more push for gun control, I guess, in a way. We have a U.S. representative from New Mexico. He's trying to back some gun storage laws. He met up with the chief of police of Albuquerque, who, in my opinion, is retarded. And let's just get going on this one. In a wide-ranging conversation on Wednesday with police leaders from central New Mexico about local public safety issues, U.S. Representative Gabe Vasquez said he wants to make it a federal crime to not safely store firearms around children and wants to regulate social media use that encourages violence. Vasquez also discussed his effort to boost funding for local law enforcement needs versus immigration enforcement. At the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office headquarters in downtown Albuquerque, law enforcement officials raised their own concerns regarding local public safety issues. For instance, Albuquerque Police Chief Harold Medina told Vasquez the area's biggest problems is providing treatment for unhoused people for substance use disorders and other mental health diagnoses, and suggested he find more funding for the city of Albuquerque and Bernalillo County's existing mental health facilities. He also said the problem won't improve until local courts can process more of the cases against the people police arrest. He said all they could ever process would be approximately a quarter of all the arrests in the county. They can't be prosecuted, and that's unfortunate. The most likely cases that are going to be dumped are involving individuals with mental health concerns or substance abuse problems. In Valencia County, south of Albuquerque, officers are seeing a lot of unhoused New Mexicans. They mean homeless people when they say that, who are dealing with behavioral health and substance use disorders coming from across the state and exiting off the Rail Runner commuter line's last stop in Belen. There's nothing really they're doing, maybe yelling and going crazy, but they're not really disturbing or committing crimes at all. Not yet, but they will. Just to let them be welcoming to them. Just be like, yeah, all you unhoused, come over here to Belen. You're not causing any problems. See how that ends up for that little town in a couple months. Go ahead. Bernalillo County Sheriff John Allen said New Mexico State Police Chief Troy Weisler repeatedly brought up crime. They say young people are committing using firearms and driving getaway vehicles on behalf of criminal gangs. Vasquez asked where young people are obtaining guns, and Medina said both children and adults are stealing guns from vehicles or selling them on social media platform. Weisler said the guns are sold on Telegram. At the same time, Medina said most of the stolen guns owners are not reporting when the theft happens. That's already a crime, I'm pretty sure. Not reporting a firearm theft is a crime. So are they going to try to make a second crime if that happens? Your gun gets stolen, so, if you don't report it, you get charged. But also if you report it, you get charged because it wasn't, quote, safely stored. Vasquez said he supports federal legislation called Ethan's Law that would set standards for safe gun storage and give states incentives to create and implement gun-safe storage laws. New Mexico in 2023 made it a misdemeanor to negligently allow a minor to access a firearm that they then use to harm themselves or others. Well, yeah, no shit. So, quote, it is your duty and responsibility to report a stolen firearm because you know it's probably going to be used in a crime. Nobody steals your .22 to go rabbit hunting. The congressman told attendees the staff was looking into regulating social media use that promotes criminal activity on services like Telegram and Signal. Vasquez also said on Wednesday he wants to put parameters on the $170 billion allocated in the Big Beautiful Bill on immigration crackdown, including nearly $30 billion for immigration and customs enforcement. Vasquez said Congress gave the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees ICE, a blank check, and he is working on legislation that she has not introduced yet, which would place limits on how the agency would spend the money. We're going to advocate that it be used for public safety at a local level. I can't share what it is yet, but it's national news. When he was asked about some legislation he was trying to pass, Medina referenced the possibility of federal government withholding funds from Albuquerque, which was singled out earlier this month by the Department of Justice as New Mexico's sole so-called sanctuary jurisdiction. U.S. Attorney General Pamela Bondi said the federal government would bring litigation and other penalties against city, states, and other jurisdictions with such policies. Quote, we will have grant funding withheld from us. It will get tied up in courts and eventually it'll work its way to where I'm confident we'll get it. But in the interim, we're going to lose funding that we use each and every year to assist our officers. Had to wet my whistle there. So I don't think Gabe Vasquez necessarily knows how this federal funding works, especially if he's trying to get a sanctuary city some federal funding for some local stuff. The federal funding is specifically for immigration like stuff, He needs to get with the program a little bit. As far as trying to pass safe storage laws, I mean, there's already laws against exactly what safe storage is supposed to protect. You know what I mean? So that's kind of interesting. I don't know how everything will shake out with that. I think nothing will happen because it is a federal type situation. And nothing really happens with the feds, especially when it has to deal with a local district. You know what I mean? Everybody's focused on Iran and Israel and Ukraine, and all the money either goes there or it's whatever was in this big, beautiful bill, which is border funding, essentially. So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. I mean, as far as New Mexico and Albuquerque goes, I mean, the governor has put out this state of emergency declared a state of emergency, deployed National Guard in Albuquerque. They've done this thing where they will allow non-citizens to be police. They're having trouble keeping and hiring police, and yet they want to be a sanctuary city for illegal immigrants. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. It's insane, you know. Invite criminals to your city, and you know, you have a big crime problem. Try to solve that crime problem by bringing in the National Guard. Oh, but actually the National Guard aren't actually really going to be doing anything. We'll just have them fill out some paperwork and guard caution tape. You know what I mean? Fly a drone once in a while. It's nothing like they're doing in Washington, D.C. So it's insane. The governor here is ridiculous. She passed recreational legal weed. So it's kind of like New Orleans. Over there, you're allowed to drink in the street. So keep everybody dumbed down. They won't notice the corruption, how shitty their city infrastructure is, how much money they pay in taxes, and nothing around them gets fixed. It's the same thing here in New Mexico. The weed's legal. Keep everybody kind of dumbed down. And, you know, the state government kind of just does whatever they want. So I don't know. It's crazy here. You definitely need to watch your back because anything can happen. I mean, even where I am, like there were shootings. People are nuts out here. It's just a little more spread out. You know what I mean? Anyway, let me get this next story queued up and hold on one second. All right. So this is a well-regulated podcast episode 20, and this is kind of a special episode. It is our second streaming episode, but our first multi-streaming episode. So I am actually streaming on Rumble and on YouTube right now. So let me know where you're watching in the comments. I see a couple of people in there. Neil McKenzie, Stuart Big Plays Games. Let's go. They're both from YouTube. Doesn't really tell me how many people from where are watching, but it's all good. Anyway, let me do the do real quick. All right. Well, this one has a video, so let's just watch this and give my voice a break. This is from KOB4, another local Albuquerque, New Mexico source. Judge, machine guns can't be used for self-defense in New Mexico. Wonder why. Gotta watch it. New Mexicans can. Just kidding. Let me just send this through my headphones.
Mexico is in.
Sorry. Didn't have it ready. All right, let's go.
New Mexicans cannot use machine guns for self-defense. The 10th Circuit Court made that ruling yesterday, and New Mexico is in that jurisdiction. This came from a case out of Kansas. A man argued possessing a machine gun should be protected under the Second Amendment. The court rejected his petition, stating machine guns are not commonly used for self-defense and are not protected by the Second Amendment.
So that was quick. Denver, New Mexicans can't use machine guns for self-defense. That was pretty much the whole story. So let me know what you guys think. I personally think that's a little ridiculous. If it's a fight for my life or my family's life or the life of any innocent person, I do not want it to be a fair fight. You know what I mean? So there was a story a while back where like this group of like 5 teens with a couple of handguns did a home invasion on a guy who defended his house with a rifle, and he did some damage, took out a bunch of the kids, and the children's parents sued the man for like wrongful death or something like that, because he said that they said that it was unfair that he used AR style rifle to defend himself. So that's pretty crazy. That's pretty ridiculous. So like I said, if it is a fight for my life, I do not want it to be a fair fight. And that means in my advantage. That's nuts. All right, let me get this queued up. All right, so I just want to fill you guys in. They did catch the escaped or the wrongfully let out guy at the New Orleans jail. It was a case of mistaken identity. They let out one guy, thought it was another. Realized their mistake hours later, did not notify the public, and then I guess they finally caught him. He was in Texas. He got away. He was pretty far away. Derek Groves is still on the run. No sign of him. Just a sighting of a woman who looked like him, who worked at a grocery store. All right, let's check this out. Make sure we got some sound.
Done and to help keep this city safe.
Sorry about that.
I'm Orleans Parish Sheriff Susan Hudson. I'm here with the hardworking women of this jail. We are in the jail today. Just want to assure the city that we did suffer a cyber attack this morning that did impact some of our systems, but we've isolated that, and the jail systems are on a separate server and they're functioning just properly. So we're able to run the jail, get people to court, and continue to do what we do every day. A big thanks to the men and women of this department who work hard every day to see that justice is done and to help keep this city safe. We'll put out more information as it becomes available. Thank you.
So there you go. Cyber attack. I heard they're running everything by hand. So expect more people to be let out accidentally on purpose, probably. Because that's just the way it goes over there in New Orleans. Who clicked the link, though? You think it was the sheriff? I heard it was a ransomware attack. So, you know, somebody clicked the link. You know what I mean? That happened at one of the jobs I used to work at. Somebody clicked the link, you know. They wanted some Bitcoin. It's a ransomware holding us for ransom. You know what I mean? So that's about it for the local stuff. Did you guys see that baseball, Karen? So that was a pretty interesting thing. So at a baseball game, it was like a Phillies game or something like that. This dad runs out and gets a home run ball that bounced into the stands, and you know, Karen wanted it, I guess. So she ran up on him and just took the ball from him. So let's see. Do I have that saved anywhere so we could see? I don't know if you guys have seen it, but she runs up. So the dad grabs the ball, runs up to his kid and hands it to him. This lady runs up and grabs the man, and the look on his face is just that of like pure terror, pure horror. It's like, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, how is this guy so like scared, I guess? I don't know. I'm trying to find the video because it's a pretty crazy situation. Here we go. Maybe this one is it. Let me get this queued up. Come on.
Our fan interactions, you'll see the Phillies hit a.
All right. I don't want the noise though.
our fan interactions, you'll see the
All right, so here's the dad. And this lady grabs him, and this guy just like freaks out. Did you see that? He's like so scared. Whoa, 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 lady. Whoa. Look at this. And he gives it to her. He bitches out like a little bitch. Look at this. And he's sitting there pouting like a little bitch. This lady walked up, grabbed him. Look at this look of terror he has. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me tell you something. Some crazy person walks up on me and my son like that and grabs me. Like, somebody better hold me back, because that's crazy. This dude totally bitched up. He got scared, looked like a pussy in front of his son. Come on, that's ridiculous. What's happening with men in this country? You know what I mean? I got it. Like, I see it on my screen still. I got to get this out of here because it's pretty infuriating. I mean, God, what a bitch. He just bitched up. Oh, they got a bunch of free stuff from the team and everything. But, I mean, would you rather have the free stuff and looking like a bitch to your son, or, you know, telling that lady to go fuck right on off? You know what I mean? That guy's a pussy. He didn't want anything to do with it. You saw him. He handed it back and threw his hands up after he just bitched up right in front of his kid. Nah, fuck that. Some fucking lesbo looking Karen walks up on me and my kid like that at a baseball game after we got the ball. Nah, fuck that. This is America's game, bitch. You get the fuck out. Get out of here. Anyway, that guy was a pussy. There's another crazy story I saw on X today. So a few weeks ago, there was a story going around about this Ukrainian immigrant who was viciously murdered on I think it was like a train, like a passenger train. Well, the video just came out today, and it is pretty fucked up. This poor girl gets on the train, takes her seat, is on her phone. The piece of trash seated behind her just pulls out a knife, unfolds it, just gets up and just drives it right into her neck. Gets up, walks around. There's blood everywhere, and she's bleeding out. And nobody on that train did a single thing. Nobody did anything to help. They didn't do anything to stop that guy. And yeah, it's very unfortunate. That poor girl is dead. She didn't even do anything. She just got on a train. Didn't even look at the guy. Then I see like the disgusting comments. She was probably tweeting something racist. I don't think so. And you guys can all watch the video. He wasn't reading her text over her shoulder. It was a random act of violence. It was messed up. And nobody did a single thing. They just watched the guy walk around dripping blood, watched the girl bleed to death. Nobody got up. Nobody tried to stop him. Nothing. It's like the Daniel Penny effect. Remember him? He stopped that guy in New York who was threatening all those people on that train. They ended up trying him for murder. I think that's what's going on. People are afraid to step up because the victims get arrested while the perpetrators go free. It's a crazy epidemic in this country. I've lived in New Orleans for a long time. That shit happened all the time. All the time. I live here, same shit, same situation. It's crazy. And there was like the conspiracy talk about like the George Soros funded like district attorneys and everybody was like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. No, it's not. It's fucking real. He has them all over. The district attorney from New Orleans is one. Like straight up. In my hometown, you know what I mean? And here in New Mexico, just everybody's retarded. It's all vote blue no matter who. Like, I'm in the one Republican stronghold. And even the Republicans are just as retarded, you know what I mean? The fatigue is real, man. Can't ever relax, you know what I mean? The fatigue is real. What else should we talk about? We got a couple more things on my list here. So Gavin Newsom, governor of California, went on a podcast not too long ago, and he was gifted a firearm by the podcast host. He got on there, pretended that he loves guns. He's a pro-America, two-way, Second Amendment, gun-loving American. So he's gifted a SIG P365, right? But he said he wasn't sure how he was going to be able to take it into California. He said he would report it to the TSA just to be safe. Like the TSA is the TSA is the authority on the California gun laws. You know what I mean? So anyway, his California gun laws are so fucked up that he had to hire a lawyer to figure it out. He just left it in Tennessee where the podcast was. He didn't even take it with him, which I think was probably a smart move. I'm probably betting that the podcast host was trying to do a little setup, you know? See, if he took it and got it in, that means rules for me, rules for thee and not for me, right? Yeah. Rules for thee and not for me. I'm the governor. I can have a P365, but you guys can't. But he didn't, so it was probably a smart move. And kudos on that podcast host for, I don't know if he was trying to set him up, but if he was, that's pretty smooth. Pretty smooth. Didn't work though. All right. You guys watch that guy, Officer Tatum? I used to kind of like him on the YouTube. I've seen him on that Tim Pool show once or twice and, you know, stuff like that. I used to, you know, I didn't have any bad opinion. I also didn't really watch his show. I just, you know, I did not watch if he was on something. He was on, he has a podcast and he had the Prime Minister of Israel on, Benjamin Netanyahu. And he was talking about his trip that he just took to Israel. And it was actually kind of disgusting to hear him talk about it like this, because the way that he was putting it is like, Israel is so great. Israel is so great. And then he says, we were only spat on by children one time. The children only spit on the Christian pastor one time. Otherwise, it's a great place. You know? It's like, oh, Chicago's great. I only got mugged one time, you know, but other than being mugged, it's great. Imagine visiting a place and getting spit on by the children and then coming home and being like, you know what? It was great. You know, it was just a publicity, trip, you know, that Israel does where they invite people, you know? So who knows? Maybe he was critical of Israel before and they offered to take him on a little trip, show him around. And, you know, he did say that the adult Jews there were, they made sure to explain to him that that's not how they are. That's not how everybody feels about the Christians. And, you know, that child who was spitting on them doesn't represent all of them. But I don't know, dude. I've seen countless videos of non-Jews being spit on by the Jews over there. Like it's crazy to me. I don't know. My wife has been there a long time ago, but she was with an Israeli guy. So who knows? Maybe it was different because of who she was with, but I don't know if she saw any of that. I'd have to ask. But I don't know. It's nuts. So it's kind of crazy. You see people like Tim Pool, this Officer Tatum, you know, even like Alex Jones, I feel a little bit, you know, they're kind of like bitching up to Israel, you know, like all these people used to be real critical and now they're like afraid to say anything. It's kind of nuts. But if you look into it and you really look into it, you know, you'll see who controls a lot of our government. You have most of our Congress being controlled by AIPAC, getting paid big donations by AIPAC and stuff like that. And you see who all of Donald Trump's like advisors are, his chief of staff, the border czar, and you kind of take a look at it and you see what we're doing in the Middle East on behalf of Israel, and it all will kind of like make sense and click a little bit. Anyway, we can't get too crazy on this topic, but you know, just look into it. You know, we're supposed to do deportations on day one, right? Well, they just put the deportation numbers out, and it's not very good. And they're kind of relying on the reported self-deportations to kind of bolster up the numbers. So I don't know. This whole Trump situation, it's not what we thought. So no new wars, deportations on day one. You know, none of that stuff's really happening. They changed the Secretary of Defense and the Department of Defense to the Secretary of War and Department of War now. Kind of like the opposite. I thought Trump was ending wars. If I were president, the war in Ukraine never would have happened. But here we are, starting up with Iran, you know. It's crazy. And see why he did that. Just look into it for me. Just look a little deep for me. You know what I mean? Anyway, guys, we're getting close to an hour here, about 45 minutes. So let's read some chat. We got, what's up, y'all? All right. Somebody's asking, what's a machine gun? Well, a machine gun is a firearm that fires more than one round per trigger pull. So you pull the trigger. Normally in a semi-auto, you pull the trigger, one round comes out, you let go, you pull again, another round. With a machine gun, you hold the trigger down and it just keeps firing. Now, in some guns, you have in there what's called an auto sear. So if it's like select fire, which most of them are, and what the auto sear does is it works with the trigger and the hammer. So instead of like, so when you have blowback, it just automatically feeds the next round in and fires the hammer onto the striker or the firing pin. Boom. And it just keeps going back and forth. So it's like automatic. I wonder if you were being sarcastic with that question, but hey, man, machine guns were all the rage, you know. That was the way to go back in the day. You had the Tommy gun. Is that a 45? I think a Thompson. You get the stick mag or the full drum, you know, Bonnie and Clyde style. Neil McKenzie says that's why I carry. Yeah, me too, man. Carry everywhere, especially when I have my kid with me. So I'm down here in New Mexico now, dude. You got people trying to snatch kids and stuff. Not on my watch. But yeah, even when I lived in New Orleans, like I carried everywhere, every day. There was crazy stuff happening around all the time. You had to keep your head on a swivel. You had to stay well regulated. And You just have to watch yourself, watch people around you. 'Cause it gets crazy. Anyway, guys, I think I'll kind of leave that right there. This world's getting crazy, man. Internationally, locally, regular nationally. It's just popping off everywhere. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah. So you know what, guys? It's a crazy one out there. So remember to stay well regulated. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.